Hi everyone, it's Giorgia here and welcome to Be Colorful. Before starting, I make the usual preamble for those who don't know the monthly kit by Tonic Studios. In all the Tonic Craft Kit we find the set of exclusive dies and stamps, a selection of Nuvo products, and a set of Craft Perfect cards, all match the theme of the kit. Dies and stamps cannot be bought separately, while all other products can be bought in the shops. I remind you that below in the description box you will find the list of all the products included in the kit and those not included that I will use during the video. Also, if you'd like more information about this monthly kit, I leave you the link to the Tonic Studios website down below in the description box. With the kit number 40 we have already made 8 cards. You will find links to those videos below in the description box and at the end of this video. But this kit is designed for the creation of gift boxes with a very elegant and with dark and dramatic colors. Online you will find a lot of beautiful ideas to create boxes with this style. But today I'm going to propose you a photo box, giving it the feature of a Polaroid camera. Last year for my birthday, my partner gave me this Polaroid and I need a box to keep these photos. So let's take advantage of this kit and see where the fantasy takes us. The problem is that in the case of Polaroid photos, the size of the box is too small, so I have to extend it according to my need. I love to make it taller, so that the Polaroid photos fit inside, and even wider, so I can keep a lot of them. First of all, for the body of the box, I'm going to create 4 of these shapes on white cardstock. Then, with the same die, I'm going to create 2 of these parts here. These shapes will create the width extension of the box. I cut them out by following the fold lines and leaving only the rectangle body and a flap. Now I put aside the 2 larger shapes and the 2 small ones I just created. And I take the other 2 large shapes, which will be the extension of my box in height. Then I chop them out based on how tall I want my box to be. Okay, let's make a recap of the pieces obtained so far. With the basic die, we have obtained 2 full shapes, 2 small shapes using only the orange part of the die. These 2 parts will extend the box in width. Then we die cut 2 other whole shapes to extend the box in height. So we cut these 2 shapes according to how much we want to extend it. You can also use the whole piece, doubling the box in height. Now only the width extension of the upper part is missing, which I'm going to obtain using the scraps of the entire die cut. To be clear, those in red. So I'm going to cut out the part I don't need. making two figures with the same height as piece number 5 and the same width as piece number 3. I trim out the corners of the flaps and after having folded everything following the fold lines, I can proceed to glue the various pieces. Next, I'm gonna compose the height extension. I glue the various parts together. And to join the extension to the rest of the box, I just use 2 strips of paper. Finally, I'm going to close the body of the box. Okay, now let's move on to the base and the lid. Of course, I'll have to extend these two parts as well as I did for the box. So I'm going to die cut the lid included in the kit twice on white cardstock. I'm going to cut out these two parts along the fold line impressed by the die. While in the other die cut, I'm going to remove this part, leaving a small flap beyond the fold line. I glue the two parts, applying the glue on the flap I left. Next, from these two dies, I'm gonna get the lateral part of the lid. Then I die cut 2 times each of these figures, which I'm gonna glue on the lid in this way. From one of the figures, I'm going to cut out the side flap, and I glue them together, forming one of the two sides of the lid. I'm gonna remove these two flaps from the base of the lid. Then glue the side part. At the same way, I'm going to prepare the other side of the lid by cutting out the side flap from one of the two figures Then I glue the two parts and I glue this side to the base of the lid. Now I fold along the fold lines and glue everything together, forming the lid. As you can see, this side is mobile. To join it to the rest of the lid, I'm going to glue two pieces of paper in the corners inside the lid. And the lid is ready. Now, in the same way, I also create the base of the box. By die cutting this figure twice, then I'm going to chop off this part. Trim off this part, leaving a flap. And glue the two parts together. As I did before for the lid, I made 4 figures for each die that will form the sides of the base. I glued the base on the body of the box and the extended box is ready. Now we can decorate it as we like. As I have already told you, I'll show you some ideas for making a Polaroid camera style box using basic dies, which most of you have in your stash. I will use this Polaroid camera as a model of inspiration. So for the yellow part, I'm gonna use this yellow classic card. I'm going to cover some part of the box with this paper, in particular a piece of the base, the back of the box, the back of the lid, die cutting the paper with this part of the die. Finally, I'm going to cover the side of the lid using these dies. Okay, now with the white classic card, I'm gonna create a strip of paper to simulate the white part of the printer of the Polaroid. Still with the white classic card, I'm going to cover the top of the lid as well as the front part using this die. Now let's move on to the fun part of this project, the creation of the elements that make up the Polaroid using simple circle dies. First, I'm gonna create the lens. You can create a simple element or try to make them more detailed. For example, for the lens, I'm going to use black satin paper by die cutting various circles in order to simulate its appearance. I'm going to make the central circle on the black mirror card with a glossy finish. Now I'm going to assemble the lens using some foam pad for the yellow outer circle. After removing the protective film, I'm going to attach it to the larger black circle. I attach the rest of the circles on a black base with some liquid adhesive. And this is the lens. Now I'm going to make the rainbow strip located above the lens using the Nuvo markers. After having cut out some very thin strips, one for each color, I'm going to glue them onto a strip of white cardstock. Okay, now let's move on to the creation of the flash, for which I'm gonna use the same technique I used for the lens. So I'm going to die cut a bunch of concentric circles, but this time on silver satin paper. Except for the outer circle, which I will die cut on black satin paper. After gluing all the circles on a black base, I'm going to glue a piece of acetate on the back of the black outer circle in order to simulate the slide of the flash. Next, I'm going to create the viewfinder, for which I'm going to cut out 3 squares on black satin paper. I round the corners with a crocodile, then die cut the center with a circle die. I'm going to glue one of the squares onto a piece of acetate to create the viewfinder slide. As I'm going to glue the other 2 squares one on top of the other, aligning them nicely and giving the element some thickness. Inside the viewfinder, I'm gonna glue 2 concentric circles. Finally, I'm going to apply some foam pad on the outer squares, which will give depth to the element. Then I'm going to die cut a small white circle to create the timer button that allows you to set the shutter after a few seconds, as well as the red circle, that is the shutter button. All the elements are ready to go, so I can proceed to glue everything on the box. And here we go! Oh no, I forgot. I also have to create the opening from which the instant photos come out. As a final touch, I'm going to apply some glossy accent on the 2 buttons and in the center of the lens. So the Polaroid photo box is finished. The video ends here, and I hope you enjoy this idea. I had a lot of fun creating the various elements of the Polaroid, and as you have seen, I used very few basic products: paper, circle dies, and some markers. Many of you may not have the kit or find it difficult to extend the box as I did, but don't give up. I remind you that you can create a box even without these dies, or use a ready-made one and cover it. Or again, if you have this kit, you can create a smaller Polaroid photo box without extending it. Finally, if you don't have a Polaroid, here I have an idea of how to fill your photo box with other memories, creating cute cards like this one. Well, that's all for today. I thank you for joining with me. See you next time. Bye bye. And as always, be colorful.